Hello, Bobcat. What a pleasure to meet you. It really is. So we're here to talk about your new film, or not your new film. It's been out for quite some years, but God Bless
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
It's quite something. I'm just wondering, was it a result of sort of reaching peak frustration with, frankly, undeserving celebrities that drove you to write the
Uh,
script?
it was more, I was just really kind of saw the writing on the wall. I mean, I truly was wondering where we were going as a culture. Um, I say the movie's a very violent film about kindness. It probably is a little bit too much about entertainment, but it wasn't like I didn't like have like a menu of people I didn't like and then I wanted to kill them, I think, as an anti-hero movie, there's those anti-hero movies where someone's breaking the law and doing, bad things, but at the end they actually are kind of rewarded, like Taxi Driver. Um, and I didn't do that with this movie. I just thought, you shouldn't be rooting for these people. But at the first half, you kind of are, but then eventually, uh, I think if you're a normal human being, hopefully you're not. But I guess you kind of root for Frank at the end,
So
uh,
that
speak.
that opening, I mean, as you say, the first half hour or so, but the first 10 minutes especially is it's very very funny, but it's pretty bleak as well. Um,
Yeah, it's not a spoiler alert. I mean, we shoot a baby in the very beginning of the movie.
well, that's the bit that kind of had me open mouthed when I was watching the film, and I'm just wondering, specifically thinking of that, did you have problems with the censors?
No, but we when we went to film it, it was like the baby shows up and it's funny you mentioned that you were a first AD. They said the father of the baby goes, "What are we shooting today?" And the AD said, "Your baby." And then he didn't get it. Nobody explained to him what the scene was. So we had that baby, and it was funny because that baby didn't cry. I love to tell you I'm a better man than this because I would just say goodbye, Dad, and have him walk off. And I took biscuits away from the baby. I took toys away. So eventually I was just leaning in, going, growling in the baby's face, and then be like, roll the camera. And then it started crying. But I always wonder, like, when that kid's like an adult, like a police academy will come on and he'll just freak out and run into
Yeah.
traffic.
So you've taken quite a back seat now to acting, and for sort of writing and directing. But this role specifically, thinking of your stand-up back in the day, especially, you
Yeah.
seem to be ideally cast to have played that lead role. So I'm wondering why you didn't do that.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think like I think I mean I know there's a lot of really talented people that can do that, but I really take directing as really something I really I shouldn't say important, but it is important to me. It's something I really care about. So I want to be able to focus on that, and to be directing and in it. I don't. I think I would. One of them would suffer, and I also think Joel Murray, who played Frank, is a better actor than me. So that was good. It's sometimes I get the idea that maybe I would act, but it's usually pretty fleeting.
Like you say, he is very, very good in the role.
Yeah.
But I just kind of thought it would have been, especially as you've written it, and it's very much your voice. That
Yeah, but it's funny. It's like I write these movies and I sincerely don't get it. Joel had to say to me, "Oh, I'm playing you." And then I was like, and my daughter and my partner at the time was behind. behind him, like, don't tell him, because I was like, wait, oh yeah, I guess you are, And same thing happened when we did World's Greatest Dad with Robin and I. He's like, oh, so I'm playing you, and I was like, no, and they're like, yeah, you are. So it takes me, like, I wrote a script recently, and it's like a family picture, which is so foreign for me, and my friends who read it were like, the most fucked up thing about this script is that you wrote it, but I wrote like a family picture, and even that, when I got done, the kid in the movie, who's this little weird kid and everything, but it's clearly me. I finally I go, oh yeah, that kid's me. Yeah.
There's, there's lots of moments in this, like that first 10 minutes. There's a montage of killing towards the end. And I'm just wondering, were there any ideas that when you were writing this, which you thought, we're not going to be able to do this, or the producer said, that's not going in, or the censor said, well, that's coming out?
No, I mean, it was more like we would film these things, and I'd be looking around going, how come someone's not telling me to stop?
Right.
I mean, spoiler alert, but the end, it was like, oh, we've got to kill this innocent. I mean, it's funny, it starts with killing a baby, but then we actually really do kill an innocent at the end of the movie. And when that hit me, I was like, oh no, yeah, I guess that kid's got to die. Um, it was funny, I know Ray Davis a little bit, yeah, from the Kinks, and I'm not like everybody else is in that scene where Joel's walking down the street, and he goes, what happens next? He sent me. And I go, well, a guy playing Simon Cowell gets shot in the chest. And then he just wrote back, I'm in. It was weird because so many times the musicians don't want to know or anything, but he was concerned. He wanted to see that scene, the scene where the music was. So, yeah.
Yeah. So there's loads of really great lines in this. I mean the speech at the end where he encapsulates it all, it has a real kind of a sort of network feel about it.
Yeah.
But there are some pretty scathing lines in this, most notably about Diablo Cody. And I'm just wondering, have you spoken to or heard from her since?
No, no. And the funny thing was is that you say, did anyone ask me? That was the only thing. There was a producer attached, and he'll go nameless, but he said, "Hey, would you cut that?" Because all I had was Diablo Cody's the only stripper that suffers from too much self-esteem, and and he said, "Could you cut that out?" And I was like, "Oh, is she your friend?" Because I used to work on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and someone
Yeah.
was doing a joke about one of our friends. We'd say, "Hey, could you not do that?" And he said, "No, I just don't think it's a smart joke." And I went, "Oh, okay." So then I went home and added a whole page about what I didn't like about Diablo Cody. But by the way, I don't really give a shit about Diablo Cody. So she was just crossfire with me having an axe to grind with a producer. Yeah.
I mean, I know at the time that it came out, it's about 2011. Um,
Yeah.
I just throw this little grenade in there. I'm just wondering if you made it now, if the line might be about, dare I say, Jerry Seinfeld?
No, I mean, I talked about him in like a stand-up documentary comedy thing, and no, again, it's kind of funny. I mean, I have jokes and I address Seinfeld going mental on me, but it was all provoked by me, but it's just strange, I don't know. It's just it's like he talks this smack about me on his show, and then people go and look our names up, and then they realize, oh, this is because 30 years ago Bobcat did a joke about him
Yeah.
banging a high schooler, and or I shouldn't say banging a high schooler, having statutory rape with a minor. So so,
Can,
it wasn't
can we
really
transmit this?
I mean, I think Jerry Seinfeld, the fact that his wife is funding counter protesters for that are pro-Palestinian protesters were beat up by a bunch of thugs in UCLA, and his wife had given $10,000, I think it was, to this group. So the fact that they're funding thugs is probably a bigger story to me, but.
You know what, Bobcat? I think we better get off this topic. I'm going to move right ahead.
That's the thing. It's like I don't know. It's like, I talk about Robin was my good friend, and we would laugh because he would do a bit and it would be like, I'll tell you, okay, so years ago I did a bit about Stallone, and I said, "Oh, you really?" Because he in Rambo, he goes, "Are we going to win this time?" And I said, "What, the soccer championships?" Because he was teaching girls gym soccer and Sweden or something during Vietnam, and
Yeah.
they dodged the draft. And I said to Robin, I go, "Should I cut that out?" And he's like, "Oh no, I do all these bits about him, It's like so, but Stallone called when the thing aired and said he was going to kill me. He said he was going to rip my heart out. He was furious. And I was saying to Robin, I go, you do Stallone doing Shakespeare, and I call him a draft dodger. So there's two different, and
Yeah.
that's the thing about me. It's like when I would go for a target, it wasn't like, even like I didn't curse or something, they would be so worried about me when I was on television and stuff. And it was, I guess it was just a little more pointed than what other people were doing. But I watch Bill Burr now, and I go, right on, and I see that he certainly doesn't pull punches.
Yeah, he's great, Bill Burr. Moving to the very, very end of the film, I always like watching the credits, and I'm always intrigued by who the filmmakers give thanks to. And the one name that stuck out, and whether you can remember this person or not, I don't know, but you give thanks to Detective, what's the name,
Carla,
Carla
Carla,
Witherspoon?
yeah, that was my cat, Detective Carla Whiskerson.
Oh, right, okay. I I was right, fine,
That's
because I thought it
hilarious.
was genuine police advice about serial killers or something.
No, it's Detective Carla Whiskerson. I was thinking about this is kind of name dropping, but a conversation that because I haven't thought about this movie too much, but that's not true. I keep getting reminded. I get tagged on memes and stuff. People seem to feel that like what Frank is saying is kind of has a lot to do with where America is at this point. But I didn't have that. Terry Gilliam was like, "Why don't you have that scene where the cops are pursuing them?" And I think in hindsight, I probably should have. But I said to him, I was like, because I don't like that scene in movies where Harvey Keitel's in front of a map going, "I got to get inside their brain." But I think it was missing, and I don't know. It's just so funny that he was concerned about my narrative of all
I
people.
I, I interviewed Terry Gilliam a little while ago, and he's fantastic, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal. So just then finally about the film, I was going to ask, um, you made this quite some while ago. I mean, it's 2011 it was released, and then you
yeah.
made a film a couple of years after that, Willow Creek, which I really enjoyed. But
Right.
I don't think you've done any sort of narrative films since then.
No, I
Um,
did. I did a series that is, that people don't know about. I think it's might be on Amazon, but I did a series. It was 8 episodes, and it was I did an anthology show, and that burned up a few years doing that, and I've just gotten back to working on different things, trying to probably. I feel like I'm going to be making a movie soon. I just finished another screenplay, so I have like two that are I feel that are in pretty good shape. So.
have they been greenlit?
No, no, now I'm in the process of attaching people, which I've never done before because I
Oh.
usually just make movies with my friends. So this is different because the one movie is going to take a little bit more of a budget than usual, and then the other movie I'm married to. I don't know if you know the actress Pollyanna McIntosh.
I know the name, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Pollyanna is my wife, and I wrote a movie for her, and I
Oh,
didn't go
right.
together. Yeah, yeah.
Can you say anything about either of them, or is it not suitable at this point moment?
I feel like that one is I feel like in Willow Creek, people who really like gore were disappointed in it. I think it's just a suspenseful movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a gore movie at all. It's a
No, no, but this one definitely is I don't think those people would be disappointed in that one. And I'm also
right.
writing it for with my friend Natalie Palamides of mine, who's she's got a show right now in London, actually. She's really great.